Listen in as we work to uncover ways to help you live your life by design and challenge the norm by helping you go all in on your faith. And don't forget to leave a review and subscribe to the show on the platform of your choice. Let's go. Well, welcome back to another exciting episode here at the Kingdom Flow Studio at the Casa de Sperry, which is where we're at. We've got an awesome guest with us, this good-looking guy. His name happens to also be Kyle.
I know a lot of Kyles.
It's a great name. It's a great name. But we've got Kyle Cokinos here with us. Kyle, thanks for being here, man. I'm going to just read a little bit of your bio because I don't know how else to summarize this.
We need to post pictures of him too whenever we read the bio.
Like just, I've got here, the listeners can't see it, but this beautiful mustache, jacked guy, he's got this like physique in his leg, like that's just like, I don't even see an ounce of fat anywhere on him. He's covered up for us today in his dress clothes because he's also a businessman.
That's right.
But in the midst of owning a business, he's actually a 3-time full Ironman participant, 2-time 100-milers, and lotteries for UTMB 100, Hard Rock 100. I don't even know what that means with the lottery side of it. He's got a massive YouTube following. He's a 3-time Hyrox World Championship. Hyrox. Yes. Sorry. That's kind of a new thing, right?
It is. Fairly in the US for sure. It's growing quickly.
Yeah. And you've also ran a sub 250 marathon.
That's the goal. Right? That's a goal this year.
That's a goal. Okay, sorry, I couldn't read that quick enough. So the goal is sub 250, but what's the best you've done?
I've actually, interestingly enough, never run a solo marathon. It's always been within 100-miler or an Ironman.
So I haven't just between us, we've ran 4 half marathons.
Right. That's awesome.
But we were shooting for sub 8-minute miles, and we did that one time.
Yeah, really. That's great. So that's under 2 hours, right? And a half?
Yes, on a half.
Yeah, yes, that's good. Like that's like 145,
140-ish, 145-ish.
Yeah, finished.
You're right in there.
That's pretty good. That's but sub 3 is right around the corner.
There's no way we could do that right now.
Really?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. But you're also a husband and a father to 2 girls. Mm-hmm. And man, you've got a very interesting following too. So I would encourage our listeners to go out and check your YouTube, your Instagram. We're going to get into what you're all about here as well, but really just to get to know you a little bit more. Let's ask some questions to lay some foundational work before we talk about what you're really passionate about right now. My first question. So Coconos is Greek.
Yeah.
So. I've seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So does Windex really, like, what is is that a real thing among the Greek community, or is that was just a Hollywood thing?
I don't know where Windex started. I will say, first off, thanks for having me. Thank you for the introduction. I'm really just an average dude who does all these endurance feats and has a lot of fun doing it. Windex, it's funny. My dad one time had like his 50th birthday or something. Someone sent him a pallet up to here of just probably 200 bottles of Windex to his front door.
That's really
that was a legendary birthday gift. I have no idea if Windex was created by a Greek or something, but Greeks are very traditional. It's like kind of this Orthodox way of like, if you do it's like kind of the Aggie way, honestly. If you do something once, it's by mistake or just by chance. The second time, it's a tradition.
There you go.
I think like maybe a Greek used Windex one time or another and just said it as a fix-all for everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know where that started.
Okay, so it's a Hollywood thing, I guess.
Hollywood thing.
We'll just chalk it up to that. So, but we've mentioned it. You grew up. You're Greek. Like your parents, are they actually from Greek? Are you one generation removed? A couple generations?
Actually, like 3. So my grandparents, as kids. Their families, their parents came from Greece, but Spartan blood,
I thought you said that jokingly. You serious?
Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. That makes a lot more sense.
Spartan blood, baby. We're from the island of
We're going to flash this picture, JJ.
Again, yeah.
I'll try to
now
go
it makes
here,
sense.
But flash it.
That's the real Spartan.
That is a Spartan man, if I've ever seen one. That's a Spartan.
Then when they were trying to decide the CGI for 300, they were like, let's go to this guy's we'll just mold him after this.
Dude, I love that movie.
So very traditionally Greek family. My dad's one of 7. I'm one of 6.
Wow.
Big families. Like a lot of my cousins have 4 or 5 kids. And it's exactly what you see like on my big fat Greek wedding. The huge gatherings for Christmas, for Easter, for Greek Easter, which we can go on a whole segue to that. But it's everyone in the family. If someone doesn't show up, it's a problem. We've been hosting Greek Easter at my family's house for 30 years, every year. And we roast a pig and a lamb in the backyard every year. One year we bought my buddy's lamb. My buddy was in FFA. My dad went and bought his lamb, put him on the spit, let him have the first bite.
Oh my gosh.
The lamb's name was Honey. So he had the first bite of honey.
There you go.
It was great. But yeah, very traditionally Greek, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a blast.
So what is that, just to kind of keep it light on that, because I've met people that have Greek heritage, but not anybody that's like been as close to it. It's surprisingly it's not as common, right? I mean, around here, especially in Houston.
It's not, but there really is like a really great Greek community in Houston, actually. There's, you have like the metropolis of Denver, and then the Annunciation Greek Orthodox Church is like one of the largest Eastern Orthodox churches in America. Here's Salt Lake City and Denver. And then I think there's a big one in Albuquerque too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's actually like a pretty big Greek community. There's 2 Orthodox churches in Houston. And it's
so awesome. Was that just a part of your life? I mean, let's get into that a little bit. You kind of see in that movie, if you've never seen the movie, you won't understand this, but there's a lot of pressure coming from the parents and just her wanting to marry a Greek person, a Greek man, and she wanted to get outside of it. But also just even in terms of like, there was a scene in there that I vaguely remember because it's been so long since I've seen it, but he actually also had to get baptized in the Orthodox Church to do, to be able to marry into the family in itself. So where does that come from with the Greeks, like in their faith? Like, what's that correlation? What is that? What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, we didn't baptize my wife like that. You obviously have the option to pull out the kiddie pool and do that all on the altar, but no, it's a lot cleaner than that. Clothes on and all of that. But the Greek culture is just it's what keeps like the Eastern Orthodox, the Orthodox faith so close. And it's super overbearing and it's pretty uncomfortable for everyone. It's like one of those things on the outside looking in, you can't understand it, but on the inside out, you have a hard time describing it. And it's always hard for me to describe because it's weird for, my dad to not call me and just barge into our house at any hour. And when I was in college, now with kids, like it doesn't matter. And they want to know everything about your life, but it's also the greatest form of like accountability. Cousins, aunts, uncles. If you're not at church, you're getting a call or a text. If you're not at some family gathering, you're getting a call or a text. Yeah, it's just, we're all so tight. I mean, when I talk about my cousins, I talk about them like they're my brothers and sisters. And it's just like this Greek way of being so intertwined. And to a lot of people, it's intimidating, but it's really been a great, like my brother and I shared a room growing up our whole life, and everyone's just kind of in your business, and you're just so much better aligned and held accountable because of it.
When we talked offline, when you and I first connected, I want to kind of play it a little differently. I want to kind of go the faith area here now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll go back to the fitness and all the things that you're doing on the other side. But you talked about when we first met how it was, you were involved within the Greek community for a long time, but how you really didn't appreciate it until really the last couple years when you really dove all in, for lack of a better term, into your faith and your heritage and what you were brought up in. Can you describe that a little bit? And because this is what this podcast is about, right? It's about men and women doing extraordinary things, but that also have a purpose behind all that they're doing, right? Which is their faith. And so when you and I spoke, that was probably the biggest thing on your heart, was like, hey, my faith, my upbringing, my religion, this is really, really important to me.
Yes. Yes.
Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. So growing up, I was in the altar like the Greek way, didn't miss a Sunday, and it was I don't want to say like militant, but it was just very much like you participate in the altar, you grow up in the church, and nowadays I'm so grateful my dad made sure I got my butt there on time, and I was a part of the church, and I danced in the Greek festival and all this stuff. But I never appreciated it. I always just thought, this is boring. I don't understand it. I didn't pay attention really. I knew the service like the back of my hand, but I didn't appreciate it really until I got involved with the Bible study about 2 years ago. That's where I met Anthony Thomas.
Yeah.
And
past guest on the show.
Yes, such a cool human, by the way, just tougher than all of us in this room combined.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of went through the motions, and I did through college and out of college, and then finally I went through a Holy Week, which in the Greek church we practice. If you ever want to understand the Orthodox faith, you go through a Holy Week and experience all the services and in the Scripture leading into Easter and Christ's death and resurrection. And I went through that, and I really just had this eye-opening moment as we're going through Bible study, and I'm going through that I am so lucky to be Greek Orthodox and be raised in this church. I mean, I've grown spiritually so much in the last 2 years. It really was just kind of dormant. I just kind of knew God was there. I would pray, but I didn't really mean it. And then he just totally kind of transformed my heart, especially going into like being a father and raising a family. I'm a completely different person than I was 2 years ago. And I'm just starting to kind of come over that hurdle of being a little more vocal with it, especially with this fitness and all that stuff. Like, I feel like God's given me a platform to share the things I'm doing, help other people in their life, and just really like influence and encourage them that it's okay to struggle and to, not everything to be perfect. And that's honestly a great reflection of like the Orthodox faith. When people look at it, they're really intimidated by it. But the beauty of being Orthodox is there's not this rigid following. Actually, the mystery of the theology and everything in the Bible, we don't stick on definitions. We don't have one solid leader of the church. We have this, what we call the phronima. And the phronima is like the attitude you take towards practicing, the mental approach towards prayer, fasting, as a Greek Orthodox or an Eastern Orthodox Christian. It's this peace with not knowing everything and kind of being a sick human, and their church is your hospital. And I kind of take the same approach to my fitness, being a dad, all this stuff. Like, I'm not perfect, I'm flawed, but I have this inner peace knowing that, that I am saved.
That's right.
And that I'm protected, and it's okay to kind of fall short. We're all sick, we're all covered in sin. And so, yeah, I hope that's a good answer.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, I mean, it sounds like it's just been a part of your life since like you were a baby, right? I mean, don't they really just talk a little bit about that? What does that look like coming into it with your family heritage and everything? Like, what? I guess maybe some people are probably more familiar with like the Catholics and the way that they is it a similar approach to just how there's a process to the services, but it also sounds like, I mean, you just use the terminology, you've been saved by God's grace. I mean, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And there's difference, but it's alignment in just what we know as just our westernized Christianity as well.
Yeah, so there was the Great Schism, and that's where Orthodoxy and Catholicism had their split.
Yeah.
Similar to the Catholic Church, we have the iconography, and at face value, people would look at it and think they're the same, but they're so different. Our services we're based on the sacrament. We don't have doctrines to support everything. Again, this goes back to the whole nothing is matter of fact. Like, there is a lot of unknown. in being a Christian and being a follower of God, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Wow.
But there's not this. I keep using the word rigidity, but it really is. It's different from the Catholic faith in that sense. I'm trying to think of more differences. There's so many.
Well, I think that's a huge piece to it, though, too, that we don't talk about in any circle of faith, no matter the denomination, is there are some things that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have an answer to. And like you and I spoke about originally, that's okay. Right. And I, as a believer that's non-denominational, can look at you and accept exactly what you're doing. And be like, man, this is really great. Like it's amazing that you're able to receive that way. And it'd be okay. There's a lot of times us as believers, we put ourselves in these boxes, right? And it's like I told you on the call, even though I'm not. My wife was a practicing Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I do enjoy some of the things that Catholics do when it comes to the rosary and keeping you focused. And you talked about that. What was the thing you said about the
phronema?
I think it's amazing.
But that's a mentality too.
It's a mentality. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's the Orthodox mentality, and it's just this inner peace, and it's a constant work in progress. Like you'll never master the Orthodox phronema, and it's even harder for people to understand if you're not raised in the Orthodox Church, because you're not raised by parents and grandparents, and this whole accountability of the family. It matters because it's it's an influence on that. It's a mental shift to that inner peace of the unknown, the mystery of theology.
I was at a Maxwell event recently, and a woman talking about the family accountability. A woman named Liz Bohannon gave a speech about communal relationships that was unbelievable. But it talks about basically how we in a westernized culture have lost the art of family in a communal setting, meaning cousins and second cousins, and big family gatherings, and how much it helps the mind, the body, and spirit to just recoup and renew, and it was just an amazing deal. And it sounds like that's what you guys do on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, almost on exhaustive and over the top.
Yeah,
it's chaos. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. In a world where you're like on phones and you can stay connected digitally, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Like if I see you face to face, like my aunt or uncle will be like, you're looking a little big right now. You stop eating so much. I'm like I came home from college and that's what I got for Christmas. I was like, I'm not coming back to you guys. It was the greatest thing, it's that kind of accountability.
Okay, I got a hard one for you.
Yeah.
Okay, you may have not heard this before, and then we'll get to some other stuff. But
I have a couple more.
Okay, he's got a couple more Greek questions.
Go ahead.
How were you able to distinguish between religion and relationship?
Yeah.
How are you able? Because again, growing up in such a true religion, meaning it is very very organized, very put together. Whereas someone look at the non-denominational religion and go, hey, it's kind of all over the place. Like I think you said one time, tacos and you told me tacos and coffee, right? Just a different perspective. How were you able? Because hearing from you, it sounds like you really have a relationship with the Lord. Like there's a genuine relationship. How are you able to distinguish the two?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I almost didn't have an answer for it, but I do.
Okay.
And it took being involved in this Bible study and actually seeing the non-denomination church, and going to some, like there's a lot of them, but being involved in this Bible study with guys from all different areas of Christianity. We had someone who was atheist, someone Catholic, some non-denomination, all this different stuff, but it took seeing them and their relationship with the Lord for me to appreciate the structure of the Orthodox faith. There, I actually grew a relationship with the Lord. I didn't have it before because I was so shut off, and I've had tunnel vision towards the Orthodox Church of this this system, this orderly system of like, we do this, we read this, and we follow these guidelines. And then I kind of went off the rails and tried, just saw the non-denomination side of things, and it actually opened my mind to growing a relationship with Christ and feeling that relationship. And then now I have the structure of the Orthodox faith and practice to guide me.
Yeah.
And so without that, and again, like I looked at non-denomination churches before and I was like, that stuff is so goofy. They're singing, people are in flip-flops, they have coffee and tacos, and they're just like untucked shirts. Just to put this in perspective, and it's not like it's a bad thing, but you don't wear jeans to Orthodox church. You don't put your hands in your pockets. You don't cross your legs like this. It's very structured, and just so for the education of like the podcast and y'all, like the reason we do that is to completely avoid human influence on anything we do.
Yeah.
We want to keep it as the apostles practiced and maintain the structure of the Orthodox faith and the services and practices since the apostles to when all of us are gone from this earth till the day Christ comes back. We want it to stay the same. And that's the main objective. So that's why there's no hands in the pockets, and it's intimidating at first. But that structure has really helped me and grown me as a Christian.
Yeah.
But I would have never found that relationship without stepping out of the Orthodox church and looking around me at these other practices of Christianity and seeing, wow, there's all these different people and ways of practicing, and we're actually all the same. And I was casting judgment on every other practice until I actually experienced it. And I was like, wow, we're way more closely related than I thought.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I just have a couple more on this. So I guess first one's a quick and easy one. Do you have a cousin named Nick?
I had to think of like which one. I was like 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have a cousin named
Do
Nick.
you really?
Yeah. Oh. I have cousins and I have like brother-in-laws or cousin-in-laws.
So
I'm like,
funny.
oh my gosh, there's got to be at least 3.
At least 3. That's so funny.
And there's probably like 4 more I don't know.
I love how that stereotype is true. So I just had to confirm.
100%.
But this next one is
Nick and Nikki.
Yeah. That's So this next one is, maybe it's a completely dumb question. If it, we'll see what you answer. And if we need to edit it, we'll move on. I've got another one teed up, but I don't think it is. But so Greek Orthodox versus like Greek mythology. All right. I love
Zero relation.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
So what's that conflict look like in a country the size of Greece? Because it's also a small country. So I'm like, how is that still in play today on the mythology side versus like Orthodox side? Is mythology even a thing in the Greek community anymore? Or has it kind of morphed into this Orthodox side completely?
I'll be honest. I don't think mythology is a thing at all in the Greek in the Greek world. I think it's more so a thing in like America than it is.
We study it more.
Yeah, people are very, very invested in that kind of stuff and reading about Neptune and Zeus. And I always like took pride in as a young kid, you're like creative and you love these ideas of all these mythical creatures and stories and stuff, but it's totally conflicting to being a Christian.
Was it part of your childhood at all? Like they have like little books and stuff like that you can remember?
I always portrayed myself as like a Zeus kind of.
Well, yes, for sure.
Spartan blood.
Yeah, but yeah.
But more like a comic book versus like, hey, this is actually Greek heritage.
It was more so just like a joke when I was in school.
Gotcha.
Like the Greek kid who worships Greek gods. Like I was really the only Greek kid. There's maybe like 1 or 2 others that I went to school with in like middle school, elementary school. But it was like the joke that like I studied mythology.
I don't know another Greek, me personally.
Well, I don't either, but this is why I don't think that's a dumb question because of what you just said. Why are we invested in this so much as Americans? Why is it so much part of our culture? Like, do you what's a Greek's perspective from the outside looking in?
I don't know about like the gods thing, the Greek gods and all the mythical creatures, but the Greeks had a huge influence on like fitness and all this stuff we do day to day.
Which we'll get into that.
Yeah. So like, I think that's more so. I don't know why we're so invested in it though. In America. I don't.
That's crazy. Okay, so it wasn't such a dumb question.
No, it's not.
But because yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the fitness side because that's a big part of your life now,
for sure.
And there's some things that you're actually chasing in terms of some world records and stuff that I'll let you speak on. But talk about that. So you just hit it. In the Greek culture, there's this huge emphasis on fitness and everything else, and I don't think you really see that in My Big Fat Greek Wedding,
right?
But it is, and I've actually known that to be true as well. Just in terms of even where the Olympics came from originally and everything else. So, what was that like growing up in your childhood? Was that just part of like in your Spartan DNA? Were you always a part, like
no,
fascinated with?
I was not an athletic guy. I was like a very hard worker, but I was, and that is totally in my blood. So, little background: my grandfather was a general in World War II.
Oh,
wow. He was like in our Texas history book. He was there was actually like a picture of him and a little excerpt about him because he was only like Greek American general in World War II.
Wow.
And he had a really cool history. And actually, I'll even show this off. Like this is him right here. That's him getting a silver star on the battlefield in Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And and since the day I got an iPhone, that has been my background.
Oh my goodness,
and
that's great.
He's passed now, and he's a legend. And my grandfather was the greatest.
That's your grandfather.
Yeah, and so I think he's 22 in that picture, and he was the captain of the A&M basketball team. He was on the swimming and diving team, and he was on the national championship football team.
Wow.
It was a short stint. He got run over by a running back, John Kimbrough, who had won a Heisman, and ever since he stopped playing football. But he was a really hard worker and a great athlete. And I have an uncle who played basketball at A&M. All my aunts and uncles are very fit, but I was never really that great of an athlete. I just worked hard at it. Remind me of the question again, though.
Yeah, just how you really like got into fitness then as a kid. If so, that's a good question. So you're a hard worker, and it's all around you. But then when did you actually take that on yourself?
Yeah, so I played all the sports like going into high school. I got a really bad concussion where I had to be life flighted and stopped playing baseball after that.
Wow.
You got hit by a ball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just by a line drive. I had been in the batting cage for like an hour and a half, and then my buddy came by and I was throwing BP to him, line drive. I passed out. They did take me right down the street to this church parking lot, dropping a helicopter right in the middle of the neighborhood.
Wow.
Because it was 5 o'clock traffic in Houston. So
I
was fine. Yeah.
Which batting cage? I'm just curious.
Not going there.
So after that, I kind of stopped playing baseball, but I did get into golf. Okay. And I got really, really dedicated to golf. Like I would practice every moment I had, I'd practice golf. I got really good at it. But then I went to college. I was kind of a golf burnout, and I just completely dropped fitness. I never even got into fitness really through college, through my first couple of years out of college. And then I had a buddy who wanted to start working out together when we were in banking. And then I just started to kind of really fall in love with it. Had a great workout group at a gym down the road from work. And then it's kind of what brings me to now. Like I just get really obsessive and like seeing myself grow. But it also, just like my faith, it took me being like a real lazy, sloppy, just eating poorly kind of guy to be like, wow, you have this great, aunts, uncles, and grandfather, great athletes. Like you have all this ability to tap into like this athletic performance. You're just not doing it, man. And that's when I just started taking it real seriously. And it's what's led us here. And I've kind of got this beautiful mix of like, I was a great golfer in high school, and now I'm into all this fitness, and it's what brings us to trying to achieve this world record.
So what'd you sign up for then? What was your first
race?
First race, I did a High Rocks in 2020. I think it was 2020 in Dallas with my brother, who's a freak athlete. My brother's like picked up a golf club, almost made a hole in one first time. Like just that kind of guy, running back, quarterback, sub-3 marathon guy. Like I could clean and jerk him over my head now because he's like 150 pounds dripping wet, but he's a great athlete. And so we signed up for that, had a great time. We qualified for world championships, did that in Chicago and got third.
Wow.
And then, and then I was like, let's go all in.
Did you ever get into CrossFit?
I did. Yeah.
You did? Yeah.
Yeah. CrossFit like totally escalated me in my fitness. I did for like a couple years. CrossFit Greater Heights. I think it's a great way of training. I think it's good for like just kind of catapulting you into fitness, and it forces you to work hard for that 1 hour. I don't do as much CrossFit now though. It's kind of like because I'm really like, all this endurance and running. It's you got to kind of like separate the strength training and running if you're going to get real fast and strong, and CrossFit's not conducive to that, except for someone like me. And for a lot of people. So I kind of split them up, and But I still tell anyone, if you want to get in wicked shape, clean up your diet first. And then secondly, like go join a CrossFit gym because it's going to be the best hour of training you have, especially as you get busier in life.
Yeah. So tell us, you alluded to the world record. What world record are you chasing?
Yeah. So June 23rd, I'm going to be out at East River 9 here in Houston. And for 24 hours, I'm going to set the world record for the most golf holes played on foot. And it's going to be hot. It's like 2 days after the summer solstice. So I think it's like 14 hours in the sun.
Oh my gosh.
And there's not like a tree out there. I think there's like literally one tree off the 9th green. So it'll be hot, sweaty, stinky.
How many miles are you projecting you're going to go?
I will go over 100. If I do this like really perfectly and everything's calculated and on point, I think I can get to over 105, maybe even 110.
So how many rounds of golf is that?
Well,
projected.
Yeah. So it's a 9-hole loop.
Okay.
So if I do 100 rounds of golf on that, it'll be 100 miles. There'll be 900 holes.
Jeez.
Are they shutting it down?
Yeah, they're shutting it down. They're letting like a night league play. It's like all these young guys that are like 28 and below, and they're on every hole. And so they'll be there to like root me on as I play through them, but they'll be on board with the whole thing. So I'll just be not sprinting. I'll be jogging around a golf course for 24 hours straight.
Do you have a certain amount of hole, like a certain level of par you have to play? Or
you don't?
Okay.
I mean, it's more beneficial to make pars than triple bogeys.
Sure,
it slows you down.
Yeah.
But you do have to keep score. I have to have 4 PGA professionals out there at like 2-hour increments, minimum, like keeping score for me.
Yeah.
We're gonna have someone in a blue coat from Guinness out there, and that's not a cheap endeavor. But
what is that?
Yeah, what does that run?
Because to break a record, you actually have to get them to come in to certify the record, right?
Yeah, or you have to submit it, and it takes like 6 weeks, and then sometimes they're like, "Oh, you didn't track this," or like you missed a round, or you didn't have a scorecard for this, and so it's null and void. Yeah. So we're making sure someone's there to hand the plaque over when I cross the last hole after 24 hours.
Yeah. Jeez.
So why?
Why am I doing this?
Well, before I do that, before you get that, who did it before? Yeah. Like what's the record you're breaking?
I was gonna say, why? And then how is this even a thing?
Yeah. The only closest guy who's done it is Eric Burns. He was a shortstop in the MLB. Yeah. You know who Eric Burns is? He's a legend, and he did 420 holes at Half Moon Bay in 2019. And
so he currently holds the world record?
Yeah, world record for most golf holes in 24 hours. Granted, mine is on a par 3? Yeah, par 3. Yeah. His was on I think it was like a par 68 or 67. Mm-hmm. His was 6,000 yards. So mine's significantly shorter, but the setup for it's great. And so I'm going to at least double his record and maybe even go a little more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
But he was a legend. And he got really fast. He got into all those ultra marathons. He ran in Western States, which is one of like the 3 big 100-milers. But yeah, he's advised me a little bit back and forth on Instagram. He's a busy dude, so he's kind of neglected me since then. But he'll pay attention once we get this plaque.
Yeah.
So why are you doing it? What's the motivation?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of these endurance events, and I kind of got to this point where I was like, I need to do something that's cooler than just beating my chest, and Kyle got this done. And I have a client who has a camp down in Rockport, Texas called Camp Aranzazu. And it's like 100 acres on the Texas coast, protected. And they'll bring kids down with disabilities, illnesses, cancer. Think of your kid that's been in a hospital for a long time and maybe has a brother or sister. They'll bring them down too. They'll cover a majority of their dues and just have them there for a week, have the medical staff on site, and give them the outdoor experience they've been robbed of. Kayaking, zip lining, fishing, birding. It's an amazing facility. And so I've learned about that through this friend, and I was like, man, we should help them raise a lot of money because what they're doing is amazing. Amazing. So really cool camp. Went down there a few times to check it out, and I was like, this feels like the right thing. So we're trying to raise $100,000 for Camp Aranzazu. We're about a quarter of the way there. We're going to live stream the whole event and hope we can generate a lot of money for this camp and just it's such a great cause. So it's very near and dear to my heart. I care so much about doing this, and I get ready for these events a lot, and they're really exciting. But now I have this far greater motivation to get as many holes as possible, because some people are, contributing $1 per hole. So like if Kyle gets lazy and does 600 instead of 900, it's on me to raise
That's
the most
really
money.
cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it.
Well, I've got a question for you. So how do you juggle it all? You're a business owner. You've been married. How long have you been married?
4 years.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 babies, one on the way.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ages of the kids?
1.5 and 7 months.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
dude,
wow,
you're
that's
about
Greek.
to be in it.
Yeah.
That's Greek.
That's Greek, baby.
Are y'all gonna have as many as you can? I mean, is that the idea?
Yeah, God willing, I would love to have a family of like 5. My wife and I would love to have a family of 5 or more. That'd be really cool, 5 or 6.
Okay, so you've got a very young family. You've got a new career or a new business that's doing really well, and you're doing all of this. Really, what people would look at, the 99% of America would look at that and go, he's crazy for doing these kind of things.
Yeah.
100-milers and Ironmans, and you have a growing YouTube channel. How are you able to prioritize, the faith, the family, and the fitness that you talk about?
It's a good question. And like, I think about this a lot, and a lot of people ask. I think the first answer is having an amazing wife. I knew when I met her that, man, Tekla she's such an amazing woman, and she's far more talented than me. And she would never boast about it or talk about it, but she's great at she has her own business. She does interior design.
Really?
And she is the keeper of the spirit with our family, and just keeps everything organized and thorough. And she's amazing. Me, on the other hand, I mean, I sounds really sexy, everything you're talking about. I got halfway here and realized I didn't bring my wallet. So, so I was like, yeah, I don't have a lot figured out. It's a mess. It's chaos to answer it. But yeah, having a great wife, and I think it's chaos, but kind of enjoying the chaos and not giving it so much attention. I think if I have room for a 30-minute workout in the morning, that's fine. If it's 45 minutes, or I just need to stretch that morning, whatever it is, just getting it in and problem solving on the go, instead of sitting here and fixating on, oh, I don't have the time, or kind of like just woe is me attitude.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of being so busy, just like y'all. There's so much going on in your life. You don't have time to sit around and like make excuses. You just got to think on the go. And it's the same thing with these Ironman 100-milers and stuff. You don't have time to like sit there and think, oh, my knee hurts and all this stuff. You can really strengthen your mind to just get things done if you don't fixate on the negative. And I feel like I'm getting better and better at that as I push myself to do more of these athletic feats. And that's why my wife tolerates it so much. I think that's my short answer for it.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna stay here in a minute. Like, let's get into some more of the practical side of it, because you are a business owner, and whether you're a business owner or not, it could be a guy that just has a regular W-2 job, but you've got 2 young kids and one on the way. So like, you truly don't have a lot of free time. So how do you make time? Walk us through the practical side of just like your routine.
Yeah.
What does your day-to-day look like?
Day to day.
Because you're training multiple times a day.
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah, a couple times a day. Or when I say a couple times a day, some days look like this. I wake up at 4:30, and now I don't even like set an alarm. It's really weird. It's just I've started waking up like this. I didn't believe people that said that at first, and now it's starting to happen to me. And I think it's like human nature. You're growing this family,
and you probably do it on Saturdays too,
for sure. I cannot. I am not capable of sleeping in. It's so frustrating. But yeah, I 4:30, 4:45, 5. It's always within that window, and I have a garage gym. It's the greatest decision I made for our house was like to have some sort of fitness really close to my bed. Otherwise I'd neglect it. So it's a run in the morning, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour 15. That I have to get the run in the morning. And sometimes I have about 20 minutes to, grab a piece of sourdough and honey or something quick. Sometimes I eat Nerds in the morning, which is not recommended. I had nerds this morning after a run. But like you need that, because I'll go straight into strength training and just lifting weights for 45 minutes or an hour some mornings. And I'm done by like 7 a.m. or 7:15, because those girls wake up right at 7 or 7. Y'all know, they wake up right on time. And the last thing you want is, as they're waking up, to be finishing up a workout or thinking about the workout you missed when they get up.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be thinking about that the rest of your day, actually. So you want that great time with them from like 7 to 8 a.m. And then it's off to work and calls, and everything just starts accumulating and getting busier. Yeah. And that's what my day looks like. I mean, sometimes I'll save a run for the evening, but it takes extreme planning. Like my wife has to be on board with it. Sometimes it's like a late night run at like 8:30. And they say don't run before bed or lift before bed, but like, what am I going to do? Not lift and then wake up the next morning and be mad I didn't do that, or just get it done. And I know you just can't look at your phone a lot, because everyone preaches like you need 8 hours of sleep and all that stuff, and that's a great thing. But 24 hours in a day, and you want to be a present family man and run a business and do all this stuff, like the luxury of 8 hours of sleep is just not practical some days, most days, honestly.
No, I think there's a lesson in that. You're giving up your selfish desires to prioritize your family so that they can have all of you. And so your selfish time has to start a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And I did that too, man. My younger son, talking about, he woke up way earlier than 7. Really? He would come between 5 and 5:30.
Yeah.
And so
I just grinder fresh out the womb.
Yeah.
Just ready,
I got tired of like waking up, or him waking us up. I wanted to be up and like have my day going, have a cup of coffee and read my Bible and do all that before. So for probably 3 years at least, I was getting up between 4:15 and 4:30 as well to do just that. I wasn't going to run 100 miles, but I was absolutely trying to serve my family.
Yeah.
And also take care of me so that I could give them my best.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's hard. And I also want to say this, like, I make the routine sound like it's like that every morning, and it's not. Like, I try to read scripture every morning. And when I do, it's such a better day. Like, I have to remind myself, and I was talking about this today with myself, now that I film myself for YouTube, into my phone. But I always have, if you guys seen The Office, Michael Scott, he's sitting in front of a prospect and he asks him, do you want your life to be better, worse, or stay the same? That's his big proposition. I think of that Michael Scott voice more like every morning. I don't want to get up or do something, anything. I think, do you want your life to get better, worse, stay the same? I'm like, well, I could sleep in bed, but it's probably not going to get better. It's definitely going to get worse or stay the same. That's my logic to it. And so making sure I fit in scripture before I go work out is so important. And there's so many days where I fall short of it, but, just, I don't know where I'm going with that other than just saying like, it's such an important part before I get into all that fitness and the Kyle time and the me time, making time for the Lord and reading something just sets your mind right and your intention for the day.
No, it does.
So much better.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, even if it's just a short few minutes, just recognizing him over yourself, I think is very important to how the day goes. What is I want to ask just some what's nutrition look like for Kyle? You said some nerds, but again, I really would encourage people, and I'll give a kudos to you. Go check out his YouTube. It's really good content. I came home yesterday. I told you this offline, but I came home yesterday from a few days off vacation, and kind of feeling like a bum, and the kids are just kind of hanging out. And I said, let me pull up Kyle's YouTube. So I pull up his YouTube, watched you talk about basically, hey, you just got to get up and go, and just sometimes just got to get it in. I literally 3:00 in the afternoon, it's hot. I go run 4 miles, and then I lifted, and Michaela, it happened to be paused on my bedroom TV, and my oldest is like, Dad, who is that? And I'm like, this is a guy we're interviewing tomorrow, but he just helped me get up, go run, and get a lift in. Oh, so and Michaela's like, how do you feel now? I said, I feel great.
That's so good.
I feel great. So you really should go check out his YouTube, because it has some really good content. And I like the fact how you're playing it of, you're not, a lot of guys are doing this in this space, but they're trying to promote a product. They're trying to promote a coaching. They're trying to promote something. I think it just seems like the few that I've seen, you're just trying to promote being a good, intentional, faith-filled dad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's what it seems like to me. Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And like it didn't start. It started with all this fitness stuff. Yeah. But I really, like I was saying earlier, God has given me this great platform to share what I'm doing. And like I was telling you guys before this started, there's a guy in Africa that was watching my video on YouTube, and there's all the comments, and I get so many messages of, my father, and man, this is so refreshing to see, because there's this culture of like, this influencer world of endurance and strength training, and they all just kind of seem to be like flexing on one another and pushing their supplement. And it's not realistic for guys like us if you're working with a family and you don't have a supplement company or anything.
Yeah.
And it's just not realistic. And some days you're going to fall short. And so I'm just trying to show week to week what I'm doing. And it's not beautiful, but I'm stacking, what I always say is stacking days. I'm just stacking days of work, of workouts, of just whenever I can fit them in, whatever I can do to just make myself better. And those accumulated over 52 weeks in the year has brought me to be in great shape. It's made me a better family man, businessman, all of this stuff. And so giving like a real approach instead of this, like, I have all this free time to train for 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, it's not like that. Wow. It's not like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what I'm trying. But I really do feel like God is kind of shifting my life into like, keep sharing what you're doing, because it's helping people.
That's good. Really good.
And it's encouraging them, just like you can.
Yeah, right. That's good. No, and you were encouraging us too. I mean, sometimes just get in the mundane, it can be exhausting, or we can also think that we don't really, we're not making a huge difference in people's lives. But it seems like there's always somebody, one or two people that'll reach out just at the right time, whether that's running into him at the grocery store or reaching out, passing by at church, and they just thank us for stuff like that all the time. And that's not necessarily what it's about whatsoever, but it certainly helps encourage us.
Yeah. And like what I've been in a Bible study with Anthony for a couple years, and I didn't hear half the things he said on y'all's podcast. And I watched it again. Yeah. Like I re-tuned in, and I was like, man, I've been sitting next to AT for every Tuesday for a couple of years now. And so you're definitely impacting lives of what you are doing. Doesn't matter, you're following, like, it's just like one person, like we were saying, you can swipe up a reel and up pops an interview, and it literally could change someone's life just to hear what you guys are saying. So
well, you mentioned stacking days, and that was something the Lord gave me a phrase going into a year. This was 4 or 5 years ago now, but it was like when I really felt like there was a transformational shift during that time period in that year. I was focusing on kind of the similar concept, but the phrase was steady stacking. And it was just waking up, just doing the little things every single day. And then you look back and you realize how much progress you have actually made. And even in the most basic form of, like, we were teasing about the half marathons, but that's a great example that makes a lot of sense that people can relate to. It's like, man, when we started, we were only running 3-4 miles at the time. And then we set a goal to run, I think when we signed up, I remember my goal was just to be at 9:30 for that 13.1 miles. And then after like 2 months of training, it was like, well, I'm already there. Well, we need to adjust that goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's when we talked about, trying to run under 8 minutes, and it took a lot of work, and we did it, but it was just every single day. And even like having the intentionality of like, hey, today's a rest day. Like we're resting from working out, just like it would be the equivalent of like a Sabbath, like we're resting to recover and restore. But I just thought that was something that really resonated with me. But that was a phrase that I feel like God gave me a few years ago, that steady stacking.
Yes, I love steady stacking. And it's like brick by brick, you're just slowly building. Yeah. And that's like another thing. I mean, you said it in your training, you got to this point and you're like, whoa, I can go further. And I even think about this with like the 100 milers and Ironmans and stuff. I got done with there was this last man standing race that just went on. I was like, man, I could do that.
You could.
And you set these limits on yourself. Like I did that high rocks, and I was
that? Who was the last man standing?
Actually, it ended is BPN.
Oh, it was Nick's.
Yeah. So 2 guys ended up. I guess the weather.
Yeah, the weather.
But crazy, they went as far. But in a sick way, I'm like, man, I could have done 3.
Yeah.
I should have gone done it. No. But I've found that like when I did that high rocks, for instance, I was like, man, this is sweet. I could never run like a half marathon or a marathon, but I got a high rocks done, and then I got a half, and then I got 100-milers, and you set these ceilings on yourself and of what you think you're capable of, and then you achieve it, and you're like, whoa, I can do more. Like I got to that finish line, I can do more. Or I got halfway through my training, I can go faster. I can get under a 9-minute mile. And I think that's the biggest thing of like, you think you have no time, but you might have 15 or 20 minutes. Right. You might be able to do this. And I think that's what I'm trying to encourage out of people. Just, you don't have to do these 230-mile races, but you do kind of have a duty to push your body to its limits a little bit and see what you're capable of, because it'll grow you spiritually, it'll grow you mentally, make you a better dad and all that stuff.
That's right. It's good, man. So as we're coming to an end, I want to ask 2 questions.
Yeah.
What's next for Kyle? So what are some things on the horizon? And then I want to also ask the question, what are you passionate about that either Kyle and I or people in general need to be talking more about?
I would say we kind of talked about this world record thing. So I want to focus on that as part of it and then answer the passion question. But for what we can replace that with what's next, how can people really get involved in that?
Yes, that's a good question. So yeah, I've got longest day of golf coming up. And if people want to get involved, we have a link. You can look at my Instagram. We have a landing page for donating to Camp Aranzazu. If you want to donate 50 cents, or if you want to give $5, or if you want to donate $500 a hole, looking for some big companies on that one. I will, you can find me on Instagram or YouTube. It's at KIDCOKI. And I have the links.
We'll make sure everything's on the show.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's the way to find it. And that's definitely like my 2025 thing, is get that done and raise $100,000 for Camp Aranzazu. Something I'm passionate about that y'all need to be talking about more.
Either or just people in general. What are you passionate about? People
in general.
What do they need to be talking about that you're passionate about?
I heard a really good thing. So our priest is moving on from our church, and we were at a function for him 2 nights ago. And one thing that the assistant priest to him said that resonated with me was that our priest was really good at was he said, can't remember exactly what it was. I don't want to get it wrong. He found himself by losing himself and serving others. And I think that's what I'm coming to right now with this YouTube is I'm finding myself by losing myself, humbling myself, putting myself aside, and just serving others. I have no main objective with sharing my life other than helping others do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's such a gratifying feeling for me.
Good.
It's just sharing what can be accomplished and impacting others' lives with no gain for me whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a great answer.
I love it.
It was unprompted, man. That's a lot of pressure on me. My heart stopped when he asked that. I was like, oh no. That's like a deer in headlights.
You've learned a thing or two from your fitness. You can handle pressure.
Yes. So, you've done great.
But man, thanks for being here. I encourage our listeners to like we've already said, get connected with him, follow his journey, share his content, and if you feel compelled, make a donation to the cause. But again, thanks for being here. And as customary for our Kingdom Flow guests, would you do us the honor and close us in prayer and send us out of here? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, I thank you so much for this time with these great men and the fellowship you're bringing us. The time to just discuss and talk openly, freely about our lives and our growth with you, Lord. We pray that we humble ourselves before you, Lord. Help push us in our fitness, with our families, and Lord, just help us to fall second to you, Lord. Thank you again for our health. Lord, I pray for these future endeavors that we all have in business and our works and our faith. Lord, just help us to grow and glorify you and be a light for you on this earth. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thanks for listening. We hope that you feel encouraged by today's episode.
Help us reach the masses by leaving a review and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time.